Have you ever been beaten up by somebody stronger than you? Have you? Come on, guys. Be honest. I know most of you will be like, I've never been beaten up and stuff. They beat the crap out of me. It was crazy. Crazy. I remember when we were kids, boys can be very toxic with each other. Super toxic. We always have like the leader of the group. He will tell you what to do. And I remember in my school, there was this big guy. He will tell you what you bring him tomorrow. Like, eating stuff. Bring me a sandwich tomorrow. Yeah. Bring me a sandwich. You better bring the sandwich. You don't bring the sandwich, it's gonna... Oh my God. That's why I started doing weight training very early age. Because I just couldn't hold it. Crazy stuff. But then my question is this. If somebody has ever beat you up in the past or mistreated you in the past, would you ever in the future allow your children to go learn about life from that person? Would you send your kids to go learn from that? Go let him be your mentor. Would you do that? Would you let him teach your children about history, about your history? You wouldn't do that because the version of history is going to tell your children is clearly not where you are the hero, right? Absolutely. So why do we do that? Why do we allow our people to go learn from people that beat the crap out of us for the longest time? I can understand technology is something, science is something, but about history, what kind of history are you going to be taught? That's a good question. But then again, fellas, we have some very good news. Thank you very much for following up. I appreciate you. People from Burkina Faso. The Malians have gone to Burkina Faso to go learn how to fight. Congratulations. Let's clap hands. Yay. Yeah, clap again. Come on. Some more clapping. Yeah. Why are we clapping? Because it's great. Why would you go to somebody else to learn things that your brother could teach you how to do? So here's Mali. Here's Burkina Faso. And here's Niger. A few days ago, we had a speech here about Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And if you remember, we said these countries have come together to form a confederation. Okay? Let's clap for that again. Congratulations. The confederation will allow them to be stronger, to be more powerful, to look out for one another. Okay, it's like the United States of America. That's what, 54 countries, right? Every state has its own laws, right? Good. That's what makes America powerful. It's one of the things. What makes the European Union powerful is because Europeans come together as people. Okay? Now, Africans are beginning to understand how things function. You as a country, like you as a Mali, look at the size of Mali. Okay, look at the size of Rwanda. Look at Burundi. Look how small these countries are. How do you commerce? How do you fight? How do you resist? How do you interact with a big country like America? It's very difficult. You have to be powerful. You have to have mass numbers to speak out. Now, these three countries understand that. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they were all three colonized by France. They all kicked out French soldiers and diplomacy from their countries because they want to be free and do their own things. So let's get back to our story. Trainees from National Staff School of Koulikoro undertook a study trip in order to immerse themselves in the experience of the Burkinabe fighting force in a fight against terrorism. They're going to Burkina Faso to learn about Burkina-based experience on how to fight terrorism. How did terrorism get into that space? We've spoken about this, very clear. After they took out Muhammad Gaddafi, the people they brought in that was supposedly called the freedom fighters very slowly became what you call terrorists today. So they created a problem and then later on came to say, listen, we see you've got terrorists in your land. Can we help you fight them? You know what I mean? And for many years, many African countries allowed them to do that. But 2 years ago, they said no. Mali started, kicked them out. Followed by Burkina Faso, kicked them out. Now Niger, kicked them out. Let's get back on track. The trip took place from July 1st to July 7th, 2024. This is part of the execution of the academic program for trainees of the 36th Promotion National School. Again, fellas, congratulations to these people. I think we need to applaud them. Because this allowed these trainees to learn from experiences and as well as the quality of the collaboration of the armies of Sahel. Again, these three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they were all colonized by the French. This is for context. In 1960s, they were gifted independence, so-called independence, because the bottom line is they were still using money printed by France. Yes, fellas, they still are using it right now. Now, a couple of days ago, they came together as a confederation to sign papers saying we are now a confederation. We're going to protect each other. We're going to be one another's protector. That's how Africans should be. So if anybody dares to attack Burkina Faso the other countries will intervene. Anybody trying to attack Niger or Mali, the other countries will intervene to protect them. This is exactly what the European Union will do. This is exactly what you call NATO, right? It's an alliance of people coming together, countries coming together against the Russians. Now, the Africans have started. And these 3 African countries have pushed away ECOWAS. ECOWAS is a group of African nations, about 15 countries that have come together. They came together initially for the good cause, but then later on were hacked by external powers. They are directed, they are guided. Why? Because of funding. Africans don't bring money together. Now, when you ask most Africans, I'm being honest with you, fellas. Tell most Africans, let's put $10 together, like 10 to raise money for something. They will ask you questions like, who's going to eat the money? Who's going to spend the money? Are you sure he's going to use the money for that cause? Yeah, that's the problem with Africans. Yeah, I'm just being honest with you. Some individual from Europe and some organization from Europe. If you as an African organization are being funded by external powers, are you really free? No, you're not. Now, these 3 countries are coming together to form a confederation, and ECOWAS is not happy with them. Now, the reason for this is to let you know that Africans can help Africans. And I think this is a great example of it. These countries that were separated through colonialism, if you look at them, look at these lands, they are the same people. I mean, these imaginary borders, it's imaginary. I'm sorry, I know you triggered. Some of you are triggered here. It's imaginary borders. Because when you take an aeroplane, you will never see a border. You'll never see a line that doesn't exist. There's no straight line. Straight line were established by Europeans in Berlin in 1884. That's when they did it. And then they came and imposed it to you, telling you, you are from Nigeria. You are from Ghana. You are not, okay, Ghana existed, but not the way you see it today. The majority of our people existed, not in boxes called countries. So the message is very simple. Malian soldiers have gone to Burkina Faso to get trained, to be ready against terrorism. Before this, French soldiers fought terrorism, but they couldn't beat them. But now, Malians, Nigerians, and Burkina Fasos are working together in an army to form one army, at least have the same technique and have an incorporated strategy, very similar to NATO. The African NATO has begun. Let me know how you feel about this, fellas. Is this a good idea? Or you think Africans can do nothing by themselves and they need some help coming from Europeans or Americans or maybe Russians before they do anything? Now, let's talk about America in Africa. You remember we had a chat a while back about American soldiers being kicked out of Niger. Okay? The Nigerian government, the brand new government, kicked out the French first. Why? Because they asked the French ambassador to come and have a meeting with them. And the French ambassador ignored them. I mean, can you imagine? You come to somebody's country and they change government and the new government says, come, let's have a chat. And you say, no, I'm not coming because I'm French. And you're just some bunch of Africans. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And then the locals say, you know what? Now you can pack your stuff. We're giving you 48 hours to leave the country. And then France responded, he is not going anywhere. We do not recognize you. You are not a legitimate government. We recognize the previous president because he was democratically elected. We don't care even if this is your country and you can make your own decision, but you can't really make your own decisions because we do not recognize you as a president.
I believe our policy is the correct one. It's based on the courage of President Bazoum, on the efforts of our diplomats and our ambassador in Niger, who will stay despite pressure from coup leaders. We do not recognize them. We support the president, who's not resigned.
Well, then they put a lot of pressure on the French. They asked the military to leave. The military refused to leave. Then you know what happened? The people, the civilians, came down the street in millions. You can't beat the people. Asking French soldiers to leave the country. They put a lot of pressure on them. And I feel that was very rude of the French president, saying we're going to defend our interest in this country if you dare. It's like you in somebody else's house and they ask you to leave and you say, I'm going to defend my interest in this house. It's not your house. It's somebody else's house. I mean, if you want to be respectful, you will just leave, right? If you feel unwanted. You don't say, I'm going to make sure I protect my interest. Well, what interest do you have? Did you buy the TV? You didn't. The kitchen is yours? No, leave. Well, that's what happened. People put pressure on them and eventually they left. After the French left, American soldiers were also stationed in Niger. Now, shortly after, the Americans thought they were protected, but one American diplomat made a comment after the Nigerian prime minister made a trip to Iran to go speak to the Iranian counterpart. The American politician made a comment accusing Niger of wanting to sell uranium to Iran. Now, what is uranium? Uranium is what you need to create the atomic bomb. This is the atomic bomb. The Nigerian prime minister takes a trip to Iran like anybody can do. You as a sovereign country can choose whichever country you want to travel to for diplomacy. He went to Iran to discuss with the Iranian counterpart. An American diplomat accused them of wanting to sell uranium to Iran. Then they say, okay, you have no proof. Because you have no proof. Well, you and your American soldiers get out of our country. Pack up and go. They chased them. They did not believe that would ever happen. But they chased them. So the American says, okay, give us 6 months to leave. I mean, they've asked you to leave now, but they say they need 6 months to leave because they have classified things on a military base. Okay, this is somebody else's country. You have classified things in somebody else's country and they don't know anything about it. And you need 6 months before you leave. Anyway, Nigerian put pressure, and Americans trying to come and negotiate. They sent some people to come to Niger and negotiate with them in order for them to stay. But that didn't work. In the meantime, they brought in Russian soldiers to come and occupy the land where Americans were. America eventually accepted to leave. But then, as you know, Americans are not going to leave for nothing. They need a base in Africa so they can observe, like they say. They need to see what's happening in Africa to protect Africans from terrorism. Or protect America. I don't know how you can leave America and come protect Africans or whichever way. I don't know. Why don't you protect them in America? You need to come to Africa to protect America. That's crazy. Why don't Norwegian have bases in Africa to protect Norway? So Norway cannot be scared of terrorism. What about Denmark and Switzerland? So terrorists don't want to go to Switzerland. They don't want to bombard Denmark. Only America. That's crazy. I mean, I'm just asking, why don't Norwegian and Danish and Polish and all that have bases in Africa so they can protect themselves? Anyway, maybe unless there's something else and nobody knows. Anyway, let's continue. So now, they kicked out Americans from Niger. Americans went to discuss with the Ivorian president. We're talking about Cote d'Ivoire. Abidjan has given its agreement for installation of American military base near the town of Odieme in north of Cote d'Ivoire. So the American base is leaving Niger, is going to be installed in Cote d'Ivoire. The United States Command AFRICOM has been forced to review its system reposition its personnel in the region since the junta in Niger demanded them to leave in March. A decision taken in the name of national sovereignty and interest and aspiration of the people. National sovereignty of the Nigerian want Americans to leave. But Cote d'Ivoire is going to accept them. So, quick story about Cote d'Ivoire. What happened in Cote d'Ivoire many years ago? Laurent Gbagbo is this man. He used to be president. Now, Laurent Gbagbo was not very much liked by France. And at the time, France had a military base in Cote d'Ivoire for many, many years. Laurent Gbagbo was a candidate. This other man was a candidate. During the elections, France didn't like Gbagbo very much because Gbagbo prioritized his people first before anything else. After the election, many people believe Gbagbo had won the election, but they were trying to give the election to another person because it wasn't like, you know how it works. Gbagbo asked for the balls to be recounted so they can check if the election was correct. You know what happened next? French soldiers from the French military base in Cote d'Ivoire went and bombed Gbagbo's house. Yes, French soldiers in Cote d'Ivoire went and bombed the president's house because they didn't like him very much. I don't know if this is justified. You let me know if this makes any sense. Recap. Soldiers from Mali have gone to Burkina Faso to go train, to learn from their experience and to get better. Number 2, American bases have been moved from Niger to Cote d'Ivoire. God bless.